Look, if you're a parent, I'm willing to bet you've spent some time worrying about your kid's teeth. And when it comes to breastfeeding, the advice out there can be, well, all over the place. It can leave you wondering what's really the best thing for your baby's smile.
So let's just get right to it. Is breastfeeding a risk for cavities? We all know breast milk is incredible, a superfood for babies. But could it? Could it also be a risk factor for those dreaded early childhood cavities? Let's dive into what the science actually says.
And here's where things get really confusing for parents. The reason there's so much debate is because you get conflicting advice from the world's absolute top health organizations.
On one hand, you have the World Health Organization, right? They champion breastfeeding for 2 years, or even longer. But then, on the other hand, the International Association of Pediatric Dentistry says, whoa, hold on, and suggests stopping after 12 months to lower the risk of cavities. So, parents are kind of stuck right in the middle. What are you supposed to do?
Well, what if I told you there's a new piece to this puzzle? A really groundbreaking study just came out of Japan, and it gives us one of the clearest pictures we've ever had, helping us navigate this really tough choice.
So what exactly did these researchers in Japan do? They launched this massive study, following thousands of kids over several years. Now, this kind of long-term study is incredibly powerful because it lets us see how habits from early in life can connect to health outcomes way down the road.
And when I say massive, I mean it. The final analysis included more than 5,000 children. A sample size that big gives the findings some serious weight. It means we can be pretty confident in what they found.
Here's the game plan they followed. First, at 18 months old, they collected tons of data on each child. I'm talking everything from their feeding habits to their bedtime routines. Then, fast forward 2 years. When the kids were 42 months old, they all came back for a dental checkup to look for cavities. This design allowed them to draw a clear line from A to B. Okay, so here's the first big headline finding. What you're looking at is a measure of risk. Compared to kids who were weaned by 18 months, those who were still breastfeeding had about double the risk of getting cavities by age 3.5. And for kids who were both breast and bottle feeding, that risk jumped to nearly 2.5 times higher.
But hold on. Before anybody panics, it is absolutely crucial to put this into perspective. Because while the risk was higher, the study also found that the vast majority, we're talking 70 to 80% of those breastfed toddlers had no cavities at all. So this shows us that breastfeeding isn't some guarantee of tooth decay. It's just one piece of a much bigger puzzle.
But what's really fascinating is that feeding habits weren't the only thing that mattered. The study uncovered another surprising factor that actually has to do with the child's own body and its unique timeline.
It turns out how many teeth a kid had by 18 months old? Yeah, that played a huge role in their future dental health.
This chart is really interesting. It's kind of like a Goldilocks situation. The average number of teeth at 18 months was between 13 and 16. That's our baseline, the just right group. But the kids with 17 or more teeth, the really early sprouters, they had double the risk of cavities. And the theory is pretty simple. Their teeth were just exposed to sugars and bacteria for a longer period of time. Interestingly, having fewer than 12 teeth was also linked to a slightly higher risk. So what this all really points to is that cavities are complicated. It's never just one single thing. Sure, breastfeeding and how many teeth a kid has are part of the story, but so are a whole bunch of other daily habits and circumstances. For example, check this out. Birth order mattered a lot. Compared to firstborns, second children had almost double the risk of cavities. And for the third child or any kid after that, the risk was almost 2.5 times higher. The study suggests this might be because of things like sharing sugary snacks between siblings or parents just having less time to focus on one-on-one toothbrushing. And the list of factors just keeps going. Eating right before bed, snacking more than twice a day, a late or messy bedtime routine. All of these habits at 18 months were strongly linked to a higher chance of cavities down the line. It really shows that a child's entire daily rhythm plays a role.
Okay, so after all of that data, you might be thinking, great, now I'm even more confused. But stick with me, because the real takeaway for parents is actually pretty clear.
And it's honestly pretty reassuring. This study is not a warning sign to stop breastfeeding, not at all. Instead, it's a powerful argument for starting good dental hygiene and getting professional dental care way earlier than many of us might think.
So what can you actually do? The researchers basically boiled it down to 3 key actions. First, just keep an eye on your child's tooth eruption. Those early sprouters might need a little extra TLC. Second, be on top of brushing and diet right from the moment that first little tooth pops through. And third, get your child to a dentist early on to get that personalized advice.
And that brings us to the final, and maybe the most important question this research leaves us with. It completely shifts the focus. It's not about asking, when should I wean? The real question we should be asking is, when should we see the dentist? Because the clear message here is that proactive care, starting from that very first tooth, is the real key to a healthy smile.